Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Tonight, our guest is Marc Coronel, the kidney fighter, kidney transplant recipient, FSGS patient, active kidney advocate, keynote speaker, patient advocacy leader, and published writer. Marc grew up with one goal in mind to become a professional boxer. He worked tirelessly to achieve his dream. However, in 2011, at the age of 26, his dream was taken away when he was diagnosed with kidney disease. During a routine physical, Marc learned that he had focal segmental glomerulosclerosis, FSGS, a rare kidney disease that damages the filters in the kidneys. Despite being in peak physical condition and showing no symptoms at the time, he discovered that FSGS could be a silent and deadly illness. By 2017, Marc's kidneys had completely failed, forcing him to begin dialysis. Along with the physical challenges of his condition, he also faced the emotional weight of profound despair. Doctors told him that he would need a kidney transplant to survive. This would not be easy, as Marc has an O positive blood type, meaning he could only receive a kidney from another O blood type donor. Marc's search for a living kidney donor began as soon as he started dialysis. He wrote an article for the Huffington Post entitled, quote, "A New Kind of Fight," unquote, and shared it across social media. His story resonated with people far and wide, garnering attention from news outlets. Many potential donors came forward, but unfortunately, most did not qualify to donate. In 2019, Marc attended the annual Kidney Health Fair at Santa Monica Beach, where he was introduced to the UCLA Health Core Kidney Program. There he met Dr. Anjay Rastogi, I think, clinical chief of nephrology at the David Geffen School of Medicine at UCLA, and learned about the program's valuable resources. He also made a connection with Brian Gilliam and ABC7 News anchor Philip Palmer, both living kidney donors. For Marc, the meeting living kidney donors for the first time marked a turning point in his journey. Although Marc's sister was not a match to donate, her close friend Shawana Robinson, a former UCLA health employee, stepped forward and qualified as a donor. On December 10th, 2019, Shawana gave Marc the ultimate gift, her kidney. The transplant transformed Marc's life, restoring his health and giving him a second chance. After his transplant, Marc felt compelled to give back. He began volunteering with the UCLA Health Core Kidney Program, fully committing to its mission of education and support. Over time, his dedication earned him the role of lead patient advocate and spokesman for the program. Marc's impact extends far beyond his personal journey. Through his lifestyle athletics company, he inspired countless individuals. As a former business director and youth co-chair for the Panama City Neighborhood Council, he has worked to uplift the community, and on a national scale, he has lobbied in Washington, D.C. with NephCure and honored the gift to pass vital kidney legislation. Marc's advocacy reached new heights in March of 2022 when he spoke at the UCLA Health Core Kidney Transplant Conference educational webinar on World Kidney Day, reaching a global audience. He also served as a feature speaker at the UCLA Health Medical Ground Rounds, further solidifying his role as a leader in the kidney community. Quote, "I have to be the person who walks the talk," unquote. Quote, "It's about helping others maintain a sense of hope. We're here for those in need. People just have to reach out to us." Please give a warm welcome to a superstar in kidney advocacy. The kidney fighter is with us tonight. The great Marc Coronel is here. Marc, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well, Jim. Thank you for having me on your show. I really appreciate it.
No problem at all. Glad you're here. Please tell us a little bit about where you grew up, your education, and your employment and boxing experiences.
Oh, sure. So I am from the Los Angeles area. Grew up in the Hollywood area, and essentially, I was given an opportunity to do boxing with one of the members in the school district. He said, "Would you like to try some boxing out?" And I said, "Sure, let's try it." And it became something that I became passionate about and pursued it to try turning pro. Now, when I was doing this for such a long time, I ended up at 26, and my father's insurance company was going to expire. I was covered by the military. They said on your 26th birthday, your insurance is going to expire. So that's when I found out I had kidney disease. But growing up in my area, Los Angeles, and really tried to pursue that career in fighting. And from that led to me understanding how the human body worked. I went to school to be a medic, and studied the EMR, EMT programs, to making sure that I knew about the human body, not knowing that while I was doing interfacility transfers to dialysis center, that I was going to end up being that patient as well. So that's the beginning part of the journey of my story, as far as when I was diagnosed and how I ended up becoming a medic, even long term, and making sure that I raise that awareness for emergency medical responders to show up as well.
Okay. Please tell us about your marital status.
I'm married.
Okay, and your
Yeah,
wife's name?
my wife is Cindy Ackman. She was the one who actually found me on the floor. I told her one day, I said, "Look, I don't really feel good," and it's so interesting because I said I just don't feel good, and I went to the bathroom. I ended up urinating, and I fell to the floor. I passed out, and it was really interesting because that was something that we didn't think would happen. So this one is for Cindy. Thank you very much for being that caregiver for me, and finding the strength to continue to keep me growing.
Let's talk about your kidney experiences a little bit. You mentioned that at the age of 26 in 2011, you were diagnosed with kidney disease during a routine insurance physical. Can you tell us what happened?
Yeah. So how can you forget? That's my birthday wish, right? You do a routine physical on your 26th birthday, and you're then diagnosed with something that you weren't expecting. So, long story short, my father was telling me. He said, "Son, you're coming up on 26. I don't know if our military coverage can cover you anymore. You should do your physical." And I said, "Perfect, Dad. I'm going to turn pro, and that's it." So I decided to do that, and I walked into the primary care physician's office, and I remember walking into that office. "Doc, you don't have to worry. I train every day. I run 3 miles every other day. I do weight training, and I spar quite frequently. I'm in shape." I said, "Look at me." And I went like this. And the interesting thing about it is I didn't really think nothing about it. I just thought, you know what, maybe, you know, I can find out exactly where my labs are, but I just thought I was in really good shape, just because gym and EMS was my life. So I didn't feel anything wrong. I didn't feel anything of any form of way that would sway me to think that I was sick. So uh, um, when I went in and I was talking to her, she said, "Look, Mark, long story short, if I don't call you within 2 days, you're perfectly fine. But if I do, we're gonna have to do some more. We're gonna have to still do some more testing." I said, "Fine, doc. Don't worry. Just throw my number away. You don't have to call me." Sure enough, 2 days later, she did give me a call. She said, I want to run some more tests on your kidney function, because there's a bit of elevation there, and I want to just make sure that's correct." And she did that. Not knowing I was in for a surprise that I'll be where I'm at today.
Okay. I understand from what you're telling us that by 2017, your kidneys had completely failed, and you said that your wife found you in the bathroom. I'm taking that she called an ambulance, or somehow you got to the hospital. Am I correct about that?
No, actually, I went from that I went from that fall to waking up a bit and saying, we're going to take you to the emergency room. Now, here's the thing. And I want to really share this with the audience, is that I was prolonging my dialysis treatment. And when I was prolonging it, doctor said, look, you're getting closer to dialysis, doc. I still feel good. There was no signs and symptoms of what I was going through. So I really didn't feel any type of signs and symptoms of kidney failure, if that makes any sense, right? So, I went into she took me to the hospital, and I started an emergency dialysis port right then and there.
Okay. I understand at some point they did a biopsy. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So the biopsy happened when I was actually going through when my PCP told me to come back in. And I remember saying, why would you take me? Why? What's going on? My kidneys are, I drink water. I'm hydrated. I drink coffee. I was actually drinking Red Bulls as well. And she said, we're going to run a biopsy, and we're also going to run a couple more tests. And I remember she said, you're going to come back in the next two more days. We're going to run that biopsy, and we want to figure out what's going on. So I checked into the hospital, and I remember going in for an ultrasound first. And that ultrasound, they put some glue, like some gel, and they put that on your kidneys, and they start rotating that gel over your kidney to figure out what's going on. Labs came back, went to the doctor, and then that biopsy also happened. For those who don't know what a biopsy is, right? It's a long needle that goes into. I was actually face down. There's like a clicker or something that pulls a piece of my kidney out, and I went back to my room. Several hours later, a doctor came in and said, you were diagnosed with focal segmental glomerulosclerosis. And at that point, I really thought I was I thought I was going to die, to be honest with you. I didn't know what that was. I didn't have any education to what kidney disease was. I didn't have any education to how the kidneys function, to really be honest with you, in full details. I just knew that I wanted to turn pro.
Okay.
Really
You mentioned that you were on dialysis. What kind of dialysis were you on? What modality? Were you doing it at home? Were you doing it in center? I was actually on a port.
I was actually doing it in centers. Yeah, I was actually on a port. Correct. Yeah, so I was on a port Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 4 to 7, every other day, and that was a new experience that happened. So, when that port came in, I started dialysis that Monday, and that was the first time I seen blood coming out of my chest. Like, I was like, wow, this is going through a machine, and wow, what is this thing? I mean, I was educated. You go through these educational courses of what type of dialysis you're going to need, right? Or what fits your lifestyle. And for me, I just didn't know, because I wasn't really prepared to have that conversation every time I went in there. So when I did go in there and they were trying to educate me on how dialysis work, I was like, I don't know if that's going to work. I don't know if this is going to work. It's going to take 3 hours out of my life. And I had no choice. I started that port. They said, Mark, you're going to have to, this is only temporary. You're either going to pick a fistula or a PD catheter. You get to pick, but you're going to have to pick very, very soon.
Okay. Did it get to the point where you had either a fistula or a PD catheter put in, a peritoneal dialysis?
So that's another great question. So what I did then at that point was I used social media to get that kidney transplant. I was very hesitant in the beginning to really share my story, as far as what am I going to tell the people that I'm sick from being someone who wanted to be a professional boxer. I was in the amateur world. I wanted to compete, and now I'm telling people if they can save my life. And the power of social media now, like me having a conversation with you, Jim, and really being able to get on a podcast to just share my story and my journey about what really happens during that. It's really, really powerful. right? Where people can now listen in, we can now talk about this, and we can really share what our experiences are. Now, that dialysis was definitely an interesting thing because having to go and having to pick very quickly, I said, give me a minute. I was also hesitant to letting me off the catheter because it would be another surgery. And then I would have to start over again as far as letting my either catheter, my fistula heal for another 3 months. And I said, just give me a second. I think I'm going to get a kidney. And through the process, I was starting to get my story out, but I didn't get the response that the hospital was giving me, if that makes any sense.
Okay. There are a couple things I want to ask you about. You wrote a piece that I read where you mentioned lifestyle athletics and being on the council seat as a youth co-chair. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Of course, of course. So, lifestyle athletics was created when I was in the fitness industry, and it was a mnemonic. Lifestyle meaning leadership, integrity, foundation, effort, support, time, youth, love, and environment. That was the mnemonic, and that was something that I was teaching in the physical world through athleticism. And one day I met the vice president of Panorama City, and he was asking me what I did, and I said, "Look, I'm just giving back to the community." So something about what I've always done was always give back to the community of being grateful for the growth and opportunities that I did get through my journey of the world of fitness. And then I became a youth co-chair for the Panorama City Neighborhood City Council, as well as a business director to drive businesses to the city so that people can get more opportunities.
Okay. I understand that when your kidneys failed, you were told that you would need a kidney transplant to be fully healthy. You are an O plus, an O positive blood type, correct?
Yes.
And you can only
Yes,
accept the
correct.
kidney from another O type.
Correct.
Okay. Where did you become listed for a kidney transplant?
I was actually listed in several different states and several different hospitals. So California, UCLA, Cedars-Sinai. I was trying to get to Vegas. They transfer all their transplant patients to UCLA or Cedars. Then I went to Mayo Clinic in Arizona. Baltimore, Maryland. Baltimore, Maryland is
John Hopkins?
John Hopkins. Correct. John Hopkins, as well as NYU in New York, Florida, Dallas, Texas. I believe that's Bayer, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, so Bayer and then back to California. So what I did was I did a full circle. Now, depending on where I was in the state, it was, are you willing to get a deceased donor? Are you willing to get a living donor? There were a lot of things that I had to really consider when going to these different hospitals, because every transplant center is similar but very different, right? And what people don't understand is when you start to go to different hospitals, you're actually having to make sure that you have, number one, a plane ticket on standby in case you get a deceased donor where you have to travel out. They'll ask you, where you might get a call in the middle of the night, Mark, can you make it to Baltimore, Maryland if we gave you 24 hours to do so? Most definitely. Now, when you think about what does that look like, and for people who are hearing this and considering to doing it out of state, there's several things you got to consider. Number one, the flight. How are you going to get there? Number two, you're going to have to recover. It's about a 4 to 6 weeks before they discharge you back to your hometown and to your regular nephrologist. So I had to save money up for that. And I also had to save money for any food that I wanted to buy while I was out there. So it was really, really interesting to have that in the back of my pocket and understand that if I did get a phone call, this is where I'm going to be going back and forth from between 4 to 6 weeks, to making sure I get discharged and I was healthy enough to come back home.
Okay. I understand that when you were seeking a donor, you wrote a piece for the Huff Post, The Fight of My Life, that you shared on social media. Can you tell us a little bit about your experiences with that?
With sharing my story on the Huffington Post?
Yes.
Well, from 2000, what's interesting about when I opened up this company called Lifestyle Athletics, the Huffington Post actually gave me a contributing platform to write for them between the years of 2014 and 2017. And I covered a lot of philanthropic articles about people doing good and people giving back. Something that is just embroidered in me. I love the feel good story. I like to write about the feel good story, just because, there was a lot of problems I was also going through, right? Being diagnosed and what there has to be something good coming out of kidney failure. There has to be something good coming out of all of this stuff. And being able to be a writer for the Huffington Post really helped me like understand how to talk to people in different arenas who give back in certain ways. There was a story that I wrote about a pair of shoes can give you a hope for the next mile. And that was speaking to an organization that gave tennis shoes to those in need so that they can feel good about themselves. And I was like, wow, this is such an amazing thing. And I'm so, that was so, is that, what's that in the air? Sorry. And I was really, really honored to be able to be part of that line of work in that time that I was actually working in the fitness world.
Okay. I want to let people know, Mark, that this broadcast is pinned to the top of my Facebook page, Jim Myers, Myers. If you go to the comments to this broadcast, all of the links that you see scrolling across the screen during the broadcast will be there. So if it seems like it goes too fast and you need to access something, all my research on Mark is there. So this piece in the HuffPost, the link to that you're seeing now is there. So if you want to access the article, you can. Anything else that we're going to talk about tonight, where you see the link streaming across the screen, it's contained in the comments underneath the pinned broadcast on my Facebook page. So you can access all this information about Mark if you want to drill down on our friend, Mr. Coronel, a little bit. Okay. So you wrote this piece in the HuffPost, The Fight of My Life, and you shared it. What kind of response did you get?
That's a great question. That was the first time everyone really knew what I was going through, right? That was actually my first article. I met a gentleman who actually, this is how that story came about when I actually got on the Huffington Post. Was I met a gentleman who came into our facility who his parents had passed away. He came into our facility and I said, "Hey, how you doing, man? You look okay?" Because he was a bit distraught. I can tell that he was a bit distraught. And he said, "Yeah, my mother just passed away and I just want to come to the gym to relieve some stress." And I was like, "Sure, no problem." I said, "Look, I'm a boxing trainer. I know that maybe punching something or getting some aggression out can actually help with your mental health a little bit." He took me up on that. He said, "Sure, I'll try some boxing." I didn't even catch his name yet. And when I did, he came back he's like, "So, this was amazing. Thank you so much." I said, "Don't worry about it. You have a good day." 2 days later, he comes back and he says, "My name is, for the purpose of this, my name is John Doe. I work for this company. What else do you do besides training?" I said, "I'm trying to get my story out so I can get a kidney transplant. And I'm just trying to find people that can help me try to get that, make that happen. And I just want to learn a little bit more about like sharing that." He said, "Well, let me see your story. I want to see it." And gave it to him. He said, "Look," came back 2 days later and he said, "I cannot post this on my publication, but what I can do is refer you to somebody else," not knowing that organization was the Huffington Post. And I was able to write for that company. So I'm really, really grateful for this individual who really, really gave me the opportunity to share my story, really gave me the opportunity to understand social media, understand writing and how powerful the power of voice is, because you just don't know when you share your story who is impacted by the words that come out of your mouth, right? I remember when I shared this story, people were like, oh my God, I'm so sorry that you're going through that. How can I be of service? Now, people want to help, they just don't know how. And that's what I realized about that story when I did publish that, was that the gratitude and the abundance of support that I did have really gave me the opportunity to say, wow, I didn't know people cared about me that much, but this is amazing to see that this many people are willing to come forward, whether it was emotional support, any type of support you can think of. I was actually being helped, and I'm really, really appreciative of those who did come and step forward for that.
Wow. Wow. I understand that in 2019 you attended the annual Core Health Fair, the UCLA
Mm-hmm.
Core Kidney Program. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened there and why it was important to you?
It was really interesting. I think it was like Cinco de Mayo weekend or something like that. I remember going, and I told my wife now, I said, look, let's go to this kidney fair. I want to know a little bit more about my kidney disease, because at the time I was only, I only knew my rare kidney disease community. I wanted to know more about the kidney community, period. I wanted to see what kidney awareness did as far as other organizations and what they were doing. And it was really interesting because I walked in, and then I just go around the different booths. And while I was on dialysis, people were giving me educations on dialysis, physical fitness, you name it, they were giving me information about it. And, when I went there, I met a donor for the very first time. And I was really, really in shock. I didn't know those people existed. I only thought that was a fairy tale that I would read on a magazine, if that makes any sense, right? So to see one in the flesh, to really shake his hand and say, wow, you've donated your kidney, can I know a little bit more about who you are? I guess that's where the journalism started coming in, right? How does it feel? Did you get back to work? What is it that you did? What do you feel like now? And he expressed to me that, I donated a kidney. I was going to work several days later, and that's that. I wanted to save my father. And I was very, very amazed by how he felt as a human being. Like, yeah, it was this and that and this and that. And I'm like, so you don't end up becoming sick when you donate a kidney? He's like, no, 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 no. This is who I am. And I was like, look, I got to definitely push for kidney donation, because if people knew more about it, there would be more donors out there. The problem is that when you look at this online and you look it out, when you look at it at different places, speaking to an individual personally can probably change a perspective on donating a kidney, if that makes any sense, right? Then I met another kidney donor. I was like, oh my God, I'm meeting two kidney donors in one day, in less than an hour. I'm like, hey man, I'm in the right spot. This is where I need to be. Maybe there might be a donor here for me. And it was really interesting to see them both. That was Brian Gilliam and a man named Philip Palmer from ABC7, and I was just really fascinated by how these guys moved, how they worked, how they just conducted themselves as a donor, right? I mean, to me, they were like angels. They're like someone that just come from heaven and just say, hey man, I'm here to bless you with an organ so you can survive and live. And I was really, really fascinated about that. So I'm really, really grateful for that moment in time when I was able and still vulnerable, looking for a kidney transplant, because at that time I was still on dialysis and I just wanted to get more information. I wanted to get more information so that I can tell donors, look, I met a donor recently, right? And it puts me in a place of having hope. Even hope was deteriorating. There was a sense of seeing a light at the end of the tunnel.
All right. What was it like to meet Dr. Rastogi?
It was great. Very, very smart man, very, very intellectual, very knows the kidney world very, very well. And he really, really showed me not just the ropes, but also the word advocacy, right? I mean, doctors are nephrologists. I mean, they're doctors, but to really shine in my own light as a patient, to saying, you know what, I'm a lead patient ambassador. I'm a lead patient advocate. I can do this, and to be on the forefront to talk about kidney health, that people are here for you, and really, really give that experience to those who are fighting with it, to saying, look, I'm a testament of a test to a testimony and a mess into a message, that you too can get out of this. You just have to put in the work. This is a full-time job, by the way. This isn't something you just, oh, I'm going to end up on dialysis and I'm going to just wait until I get a kidney transplant. I had to put in the work. I use social media. I asked my family members to ask their friends, and wouldn't care if I bugged them, to be honest with you. They wanted me to live, but I also wanted to strive. Does that make sense? They
Yes.
seen the passion of what I wanted to do, and really push to that next level. Like my back wall here, everything you see in this back wall has all been because of kidneys. I've competed. I've gotten medals for it. Like this whole back wall this whole room is going to be dedicated to what I've done in kidneys, because this is my second chance at life. This is what I'm now doing post kidney transplant, from getting those certificates of higher education, to the jersey here. I got bronze for playing in the Transplant Games of America, to getting a kidney transplant really changed my life for sure.
Okay. I understand that as a result of your exposure to UCLA, you become both an ambassador and a spokesman for that program. Can you tell us a little bit about what that experience has been like?
It's been great. It's been really, really good. Which gave me a lot more opportunities to understand who I am now as a patient. And really, really hone in on my specific disease as a FSGS patient with a rare kidney disease, to saying, look, 30 something million people have chronic kidney disease, and 100,000 people are waiting on the transplant list. And to share that information, to know that data, and then learn how to research and read abstracts, and understand how medical literature is now written. It's really, really been a fascinating journey to see the ups and downs of what I've learned, to be both an advocate, a spokesperson, to know based on the demographic of the people that I'm talking to, from the people who are just diagnosed, to the people who are on dialysis, to the person who does have a kidney transplant, and really, really learning that conversation.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I understand. I'm sorry, Mark, go ahead.
No, I said, does that make sense? Like, that's
It
what
makes
I mean. It
terrific
really,
sense.
yeah.
I understand that you have a sister that tested for you, but she wasn't a match. Is that correct?
Right. Yes, correct.
But she had a friend. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened with the friend?
Of course. That is my heart, Shauna Robinson. And I'm going to show her this, by the way, after this is recorded, and this is going to be recorded, right, Jim? So
Absolutely. There'll be a replay, and I'm going to post that every damn place.
Amazing. I just want to tell her that I am very, very thankful for that woman who has changed my life in ways that I never thought existed. My sister texted her and another friend who both work in healthcare. And the interesting thing about that was she was a bone marrow donor. And was a bone marrow donor. My sister gave her a text message that says, my brother's in need of a kidney. If you know, or you know someone who's willing to donate a kidney, please have him go test. He's at UCLA and he's at Cedars-Sinai. So if you guys know anybody who would willing to do it, please let me know. With no hesitation, she said, I'll do it. And I was really, really amazed, and like I was crying, like I cried for a bit, Shauna Robinson has been in our life for such a long time that I was just so happy that I would get a second chance at life, and that her soul is just so pure and so amazing for her to do. She was a bone marrow donor. That just shows you the type of person she is. to donate her organs. She'll do it. She'll do it again if she can, right? She's just that giving. And I got to see her on my 5th kidney anniversary, which was December 19th last year. And I am just so honored and happy. She just got back from Japan. Now, let me go into a little bit of details about her and her story, about me and how we got the kidney, right? So once she
Sure.
did that, she went to go get tested, and she went through the process from one hospital and was denied because she had low iron because she was a vegetarian. And then she went to another hospital and they just gave her iron infusions, and she was able to donate that kidney, which was at UCLA Health. And I am so happy that she did that. You know, I'm so happy that she knew that, look, if all I need is blood, if all I need was iron infusions, then I will do that. And what's interesting is she got approved for a kidney transplant to donate. And she also got approved to work overseas as the job that she did in the States in Japan on a military base as a civilian. So at the same time of her getting the notice of I can donate, I also got a job. And this is something that she's been working on, right? And she said, Mark, I'm going to have to get back to you really quick. Let me call my job to let them know that she accepted the offer, but they're going to have to give her 4 weeks so that she can recover after a kidney transplant because she wanted to save my life. And when she said, Mark, they said they will wait for me for the next several weeks. I'll donate my kidney. And then right after I can be released to travel, I'm going to go to work. And that's what she did. And she did that for about 3 to 4 years, I believe. And then she just got back.
Okay. Before your kidney transplant, what was your health like?
My health was before a transplant, or are we saying before dialysis as well?
Before transplant.
Well, before transplant was only dialysis. So any short win I can get, I would do it. I try to work out. I would try to do certain things to keep healthy. But one of the things and interesting things I learned about being on dialysis to get ready for transplant was knowing that I needed to talk to my social worker and my nutritionist and renal dietitian so I can be approved for a kidney transplant. But my days were every day, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 4 to 7. That was my full-time job, was to stay alive. It took me an hour to get there, an hour to get back, an hour to get home, 3.5 hours to 4, depending on if I have to wait for a patient to get off a chair, was almost an 8-hour day every other day. Now that was really, really taxing on my body. That was really, really taxing on my mental state. That was really, really taxing on, my family. Did he make it today? Is he okay? That's what my life was like. My life was really, really in a position of vulnerability. And what you learn from that whole thing, and now that I see it 5 years later, is vulnerability becomes your strength as you go through this journey. This journey isn't easy, but when you can get a kidney transplant, or you beat that dialysis time by 3 hours and you make it another day to see another day, you got to embrace those, right? The past will give you anxiety. The future will give you depression, but the present, and the reason why they call it the present, it's because a gift and you never know what's in it.
Okay. I understand that Shawana donated her kidney to you at UCLA on December 19th, 2019. Do I have the date correct?
December 19th. No, December 10th. I'm sorry. December 10th, 2019.
Okay. All right. Tell us a little bit about what happened that day.
I remember we went to the registration and I started doing yoga. Believe it or not, I was so nervous. I was so nervous to do yoga, and I was just doing some stretches because I knew I was going into that surgery. And the interesting thing about that was right before we got into surgery, I remember Shauna going in first. But before she went in, she says, "Are you here?" I said, "Yeah, why?" She says, "Are you present?" I said, "Yes." She said, "Because you don't know how long it took for us to get to this very point. And I want you to live every moment and live in the moment." And ever since then, that's all I've been doing, is really, really pushing to live in that moment of when I got that kidney transplant and doing that every day after. Because, waking up and not being able to urinate for the first time in 2 years and seeing a bladder full of urine because they put all these medications to make that kidney work was a very, very phenomenal thing. I remember being asked, "What are you most thankful for about your kidney transplant?" I said, urinating. Urinating is one of the most amazing things. And it's so far-fetched, but if you don't urinate for 2 years, because while I was on that port, I decreased my urine output. And then from decrease, it just went to 0. And I was just like, oh my God, I can't even urinate. It's really, really interesting. So being able to look at that table, sitting on that hospital bed and looking to my side and saying, "Yep, the kidney is working, doc," was really, really amazing to see. I got my color back. I lost my color while I was on dialysis. I became a lot more, what's the word? I became a lot more sharp. When I mean sharp, I mean mentally sharp. I always had a cloud in my head after dialysis. And usually for those who know what dialysis feels like, once you get off dialysis, like those 3-4 hours of just saying, "Oh my God, I got a headache. Oh my God, I'm like dazed. I'm like feeling down." All went away. That kidney transplant came in. And that was my goal, because I thought while I was sick and fighting kidney disease before dialysis, I said, well, I don't feel sick. I just don't feel sick. And then you have this double-edged sword of people telling you, "Well, Mark, you don't look sick. What does kidney failure look like?" I guess like this, because I don't know either, because I look in the mirror and I don't think I'm sick either. So if I can find a person who says they don't look sick and look sick internally, I'm that guy for you. So what I realized through that process of getting a kidney transplant also was I got so used to being sick that I couldn't tell the difference of what a healthy person felt like till that kidney was put in. I woke up, I had so much energy, and I go back to how sharp I was. I mean, you ask me then, what is 1 + 1? I'd say 4, because I do the equals and make that a little box, right? And make it a window. But if you ask me now, it's sharper than ever. I think when you get the second chance at life and you get this gift and this opportunity, there was a movie I was watching. He said, "There's a hook in me that no one can see, but I'm indebted to life and to live it to the fullest." And I feel that hook. There's a hook in me that just says, "Look, give back to your community. You know what? Do what you can for the kidney community." A lot of the times I get calls all hours of the day. "Mark, this is the situation I'm going through. I'm going to get on that call with you." Because there was a moment in my time where I wanted to give up. And you know who didn't want me to give up? My community, my family, the people around me. That if I did give up, I would be letting them down. And that's one thing that I just do not like doing, is letting people down in circumstances of me knowing that I can possibly get out of it. I just have to believe it. So when I was thinking about that give up moment, I now know 5 years post every emotion an individual goes through. It's called the 5 stages of DABDA: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. I'm now 5 years post kidney transplant. I am now just accepting that I have kidney disease with everything that I've done. Right?
Okay.
I mean, it's go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's cool. This is your broadcast, baby. People hear from me all the time. So people
They
want to
hear
hear
from
from
you.
you.
Got it.
Um,
I understand.
Tell us, how's your health been since the time of your transplant to the present? Have you had any issues or complications? How you feeling?
if you know about a kidney transplant, you go there the first week, you're going there like twice a week, 3 times a week. Then it goes lighter and lighter. Now I'm at like 3 months just because I like to be updated with my lab results. I want to know everything that goes on with my body. I actually learn how to really read labs. But what's interesting is that I know how to read labs, but the one that I know how to read well and better are my BUNs, my creatinine levels, my WBCs and RBCs, which is something that's really, really fascinating when you go through this journey that you don't know when you're first diagnosed. You know the water intake you take. I drink 1 gallon a day. I know my medications. I take 15 medications a day, 105 a week, 420 a month, 5,040 pills a year just to stay alive and my kidneys don't reject. I take 2 different high blood pressure medications. I take 250 milligrams times 2 of CellCep, making it 500. I take tacrolimus in the morning, 1.5 in the morning, and 1.0 at night. I know my medications. I know the side effects. And this is what it entails to really, really advocate for yourself so that when I do deal with doctors and new doctors coming in or new doctors that I'm trying to acquire so that I can get a different type of care. I know these Medicaid. Did you bring your list? I don't need it anymore. It's on the top of my brain. I've been taking this for 5 years. I can recite every single one, give you the signs and symptoms if they're a beta blocker, an A blocker, or whatever the case is. You just have to let me know what you want to know so that I can give you a better understanding to be my coach to fighting kidney disease and kidney health. But I'd like to also share. I competed in the Transplant Olympics, got bronze, and I was sharing that. And this is that wall now. I created a wall, my office wall of everything kidney disease that I have acquired in the last 5 years. I've gotten all those medals there, right there. All those medals are from kidney disease. I played pickleball, got gold several times, and not taking another loss like that, right? Anything that presents itself, I'll say yes. With moderation. Everything is with moderation. Just like my doctor says, everything is with moderation. Mark, don't go crazy. But I went into the hospital and I told him, I said, look, I'm going to be doing a 200-mile run from Colorado, in Colorado, to raise awareness with 6 recipients and 6 donors. And we did a 200-mile race, which is that wall right there. And it has my jersey and my jersey number and my medal, my 200-mile medal that this kidney transplant has done. I don't think I'll ever do that. I don't even think I would have done it before I got a kidney transplant, just because that's just way outfetched for me. But the kidney transplant has been amazing. It made me reflect a lot on my life, on what and how people are so good. You know, we talk about how, you know, all the devastating things that happen in our life and the people around us, but in actuality, if you take a step back, there are people willing to help. They just don't know how, you know, and you have to open up and surrender and understand that not everyone, and this is even advice to me, to my youngest self, is not everyone is your enemy, or not everyone is not giving you the right advice. Listen, reflect. And when doing so, take it to that next step to better yourself. I mean, every day is a constant battle now of how do I better myself, both mentally and physically? Because right. I have a joy now in finding ways that I couldn't advocate for myself on dialysis. I'm on a chair 3 hours a day. I mean, and I'm calling other transplant centers and all they're hearing is, Mark, can you repeat that? Beep, beep, beep. Oh, I'm sorry. I just got done with dialysis. 1 second. Give me about 20 minutes before they take me off dialysis so I can share a little bit more information. But really, really advocating for yourself is really, really strong. And I didn't really, really learn that until I had to go through the process of every single emotion of being rejected, of having itchy feelings, and having to take these phosphorus horse pills. Like it was really, really interesting to understand the journey of having kidney failure and going through the full journey. I mean, I went through all stages of kidney disease. Every type of medication you can name, I've been on. I mean, I remember when I was first diagnosed, they gave me 60 pills, right, to take, from prednisone, my bloating face getting aggravated just for no reason because a bird is flying. I'm like, I shouldn't be mad that a bird is flying right now. This is really, really ridiculous. So I find that amazing to really be on the other side of having that kidney transplant. And there's a lot of people out here who are still searching. Just do not give up, because there's always hope, and there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Just keep going and keep searching.
I want to talk to you a little bit about some of your advocacy experiences. Tell us a little bit about your work with NephCure.
Oh, NephCure is amazing. 2011, when I was diagnosed, that was the first organization I reached out to. The very, very first I reached out to, because they knew about rare kidney disease. Now, it was very, very early on, but I got to see them evolve to having more clinical trials, having me talk to patients who are just like me, right? Going to Capitol Hill and speaking about the New Era Act, and speaking on their behalf, being an influencer, and sharing people what it's like, the day in the life of a kidney transplant patient, the day in the life of a patient, the day in the life of what it's like to travel with all these medications, and can you bring water on an airplane having those medications. And it's really, really interesting, because I got to see them evolve and really, really grow. And to see that has really, really been an honor to really be with them for such a long time now, and seeing their growth and evolve in the kidney space.
Okay, and people should know the link to that day in the life video that you mentioned. That likewise is in the comments to the broadcast. Photographs of you on Capitol Hill I've been sharing all week. Photographs with your
Amazing.
donor I've been sharing all week. Tell us a
Amazing.
little bit about being a keynote speaker.
I love it. Actually, it's pretty amazing. I didn't know I can speak that much, but I guess being able to speak this much now about my journey, and really taking life philosophies and reading, I read about like 50 to 60 books while I was on dialysis, just to let my time go by. I was just scared that if I closed my eyes, I wouldn't wake up. So I would read a lot. I would write social media content. I would do a lot of different, things to keep my mind occupied, and really, really focus on mental health. Like, a healthy person has 1,000 wishes, but a sick person has one. And evolving around how grit gave me an opportunity to never give up. It was never about talent. It's just a mindset of going through and always pushing forward, that no matter what the problem is, someone fights a harder battle, but the battle that's in front of you, you can face. You can break that wall down. Every wall is meant to be broken down. You just got to know how to do it. You just have to have the right tools. And look, I didn't have the right tools. All I had was my hands at first. But then you give me some ideas. Life will give you salt and pepper to make something out of that meal. The thing is, are you willing to put that salt and pepper in your meal so that it tastes good?
I read that one of the books that you read was The Alchemist. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
The Alchemist. It's been so long. I remember reading that on dialysis, and it was about a man and a boy. It was really, really interesting. I've read so many books after that, Jim. But I have to recall and recap. Did you like that book, by the way?
Oh yeah,
It's a good
read it
book,
when I
isn't
was
it?
very young, actually.
Who did it? What were your takeaways from that?
I think the main thing, if you apply it to our kidney disease issues, the main thing that I took away from that is that everybody in this life is dealt some particular situations, and it's not the fact that you encounter the situations, it's how you deal with them when you encounter them.
Yeah.
That's basically what I remember from reading that book. Talk to us about your experience speaking on World Kidney Day at the Kidney Health Conference, their educational webinar in March of 2022.
That was amazing, Jim. I didn't really realize the global reach we had. We had Europe, we had Africa, we had Asia, we had the Philippines, we had everybody listening in on World Kidney Day, and we did a mass outreach. And to be part of that organization and really, really share my story and telling the stories of others, and really, really putting everyone together on World Kidney Day was a really, really amazing feeling to see the people that supported it, from people from all over the world. I was looking at cultures online like, yeah, that's amazing. So to really, really see that, and I was like, whoa, that's amazing to see, and have that experience to be on that platform to really, really share the kidney journey of what we're doing here locally in hopes that we go nationally and reach globally.
Okay. Mark, I read that you're a published author, and one of the articles that I read recently that you wrote was "What the Los Angeles Fires Taught Me About Emergency Preparedness as a Kidney Transplant Patient." Can you talk to us a little bit about your experience as an author, and in particular, this new article that you've written recently?
Yeah, so I was a writer for the Huffington Post. I write for the Service to Armed Forces with the Red Cross. I've covered a lot of their stories with military because my father was a military. He passed away, and I felt in his honor, I continue his legacy by telling stories of the people in the military. But this particular article was actually written like 2 days ago, Jim, and thank you so much for reading it. Really gave me experience here in California because these fires are very, very close to me. I'm actually in the Studio City area, and Eden is about 5 miles. Palisades is about another 15 miles, 20 miles out. So the smoke was coming in, and then I also lost power for about 3 days. And I needed to understand because I was also looking toward my neighbors and saying if everyone's okay. And there were patients there's people here who live on my block who have medical issues that I am really was really, really concerned about, because even if the light was off, for me personally, my medications, some are okay that I can just take right then and there, but being prepared for a disaster like we're dealing with now, working with these organizations, it really, really helped me make my own preparedness bag. And for those who don't have one, I really, really recommend you guys doing so, because without having power like that, I was hoping that our gas didn't go out either, but we had gas, and not having light, and having to worry about, oh my God, is a fire coming here? What does my preparedness look like? So just to give you guys a little gist, I have 3 different bags. One is a 7-day bag with non-perishable items. My 2-day bag is just my very basic essentials, my toothbrush, my essentially my toothbrush and a jacket and some undergarment. And in my 3rd bag is my medical bag, and that's because of my EMS training from what I did have. And those are all really, really sufficient for me, because when our power went out, I didn't have any and that was only in our local neighborhood. In my neighborhood, I don't know which other neighborhoods were affected, but mine was particularly affected that I didn't have a charge for my phone. So for each bag, I had 2 battery packs. All of them had non-perishable items. All of them had 1 week supply of my medications, no question. So if you guys are in need of, if there's ever something that's going wrong, is make sure you have a 7-day supply of your medication. Here in Los Angeles, 72 hours before EMS can respond, right? And I want to make sure within those 3 days I have everything I need. You need a 1 gallon of water per person per individual in your household. So I also had water too. I mean, I drink water like a fish, 1 gallon a day. And I needed to make sure that I had my waters. My waters are really, really important. Exactly. I mean, yeah, I'm drinking water while I'm speaking to you, Jim. I mean, I just got thirsty now just looking at that water, right? But making sure I was really, really prepared. I have a generator. I have obviously my blood pressure monitor, right? I change those batteries quite frequently. And any other sort of like first aid. Like first aid was really, really because I have that training in it, making sure that I didn't get hurt or trees weren't falling on us, and just making sure that you're aware, keeping up with local officials and making sure that, okay, we're safe here now. We're still in the red zone, but we're okay for now. But in the case that an emergency does happen, are you ready and able to go? Like, here's another thing that I really, really recommend is having a drive, right? With all your legal documents. I can't carry paper because if I fell in water, that paper is done. I can't really do too much with it. But if you have a hard drive, you can place it somewhere. You can put it in somebody else's house, someone you trust, my mother or anybody else, and give them a hard drive with all your information. That's really, really important because they emphasize that a lot in emergency care is make sure you have all your documents and all your birth certificates and things like that. At this point, everything is digital. So if you want to know any information, it'll be on a hard drive and I can send that to you via email or whatever you need. Right. So being sure that preparedness is really, really key, because when I was looking on the news, there was not a lot of discussions about what immunosuppressants or patients who are dealing with specific illnesses can do in case of an emergency. So I had to take action within myself to making sure that I was also prepared for any circumstances that does happen.
Okay, great, great. And I will say I saw the article on LinkedIn. The link to that article is streaming as we're talking. Again, any of the things that we've talked about tonight, including the Los Angeles fires article, the link to that is in the comments to this broadcast on my personal Facebook page, Jim Myers, Myers. So if things stream by too fast, don't worry about it. You can catch it in the comments, and it'll be available when I publish the replay also. Marc, do you have any final statements that you would like to make tonight to our audience?
Jim, I always have something to say. Of course. Never give up. Never give up. There's always a light at the end of the tunnel. I cannot emphasize this enough. There were times that I was at the brink of giving up, and I'm very, very thankful that I didn't, because I wouldn't be able to see what I can accomplish post kidney transplant. I wouldn't be able to see the gratitude of how I see humanity and what my capabilities and what I can do now. So if you're in the very, very depths of the very, very bottom of rebuilding a foundation, just know that what success can show you, rock bottom can, and sometimes rock bottom is the best place to start. Because, you learn a lot about yourself. I thought I knew about myself when I was going through this, but as I start to get clearer and clearer and look back, and the only time I do look back is when you look at your rearview mirror. Remember, never look back, only look at your rearview mirror. Is that it showed me what grit, adversity, and strength really was to overcoming something and not letting it beat me. Remember, kidney disease is in you. It's not part of you. It's not who you are. It's not how you identify is. It is something that's in you. And that's something that you can control, which is something that I didn't think I could control, because it always got my mental health. It always messed with my mental health. But now that I'm here and now that I've done the practice, is keep working on building emotional strength here. I know it might be harder said than done, but continue to just give yourself credit for waking up. Give yourself credit that you're with your family and there's people there support you. And if you don't, find community. Community means common and unity. And we all just want that peace from the struggles that we go through every single day. You were born to shine. And I think kidney failure and kidney disease, I believe in God, Jim, and I'm so sorry to bring this up, but he gives his strongest warriors pain that they can handle. And I think that I was able to handle it, not knowing that this would be the outcome of today, that I'm getting to speak with you, to a community, and thrive and push kidney health, because this is what really pushes me to wake up every morning to give people hope that this is not the end. This is just the beginning, right? Wake up every day. It's one step at a time. don't run this like a marathon. I mean, don't run this like a sprint. Run this like a marathon. This is a long journey. Once you're diagnosed, you're gonna hear no's. You're gonna hear things that you don't want to hear. But that's where you get that strength from. And with that, Jim, I mean that's my life there. My life has been nothing but struggle, and I'm okay with struggle because I've embraced it now at this point. And that embraceness of struggle has really, really changed me to being happy even when things are going completely wrong. I try to find the solution to the problem some way or another to just laugh and giggle about it because we've gone through so much that just give yourself a pat on the back that everything will be okay. Even if no one's there to support you, give your pat on the back that you woke up and you got to see the sun again, that you got to see the birds chirp, that you got to see and call your friends and your family to saying that, yes, I am okay. People will reach out. Be grateful for that, right? And don't forget to always, always believe in something greater than yourself. That's what keeps me going. That I believe in something greater than myself that has put me in a situation, put me in a predicament to give hope to those in need. Because I was once in your shoes and I still am in your shoes. The only difference is that I got a kidney transplant and I am going full throttle. There is no break here for me, no break at all. We're going legislative, we're going doctors, we're going pharma, we're going everybody so that they can know the patient's experience. You're not alone.
Mark, what a tremendous broadcast tonight. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story and your thoughts with us. Just I want people to know, Marc Coronel is a tremendous advocate, and we're lucky to have someone like him that advocates on our behalf. And basically, this is his full-time occupation now, and we're just very fortunate to have someone that raises such awareness and writes so often and speaks so often and does so in such an articulate way. And I appreciate very much your taking time to come on and share with us this evening. I have a few things I have to button up with my audience. I know you have somebody coming. I'm going to let you go. Um, but I just want you to know that you did a tremendous job, and I appreciate so much you're taking time. I will get the replay of this broadcast prepared. I will share it to over 200 groups on Facebook, my 120, and then I have permission to share it elsewhere. With your permission, Mark, I'll go ahead and share it on your personal page, and I will share it to all the other platforms that I normally work on it as well. And hopefully, we'll get the word out. People will see it, and they'll appreciate your candor.
Right. Thank you, Jim, so much for giving me this platform and sharing it with those who need some form of hope in some way. This is really, really an opportunity to really, really understand, like, look, what you're going through. Ask questions within the community. Please do. 200 groups, Jim. That's a lot of people, man. I barely got one group, and yet you're talking about 200. I really, really appreciate that. Because there will be someone here that it will resonate to them, and I hope it does for those who are listening to this. That, look, I can say don't give up, man. It's easier said than done because you are in the tornado. But I'm telling you, after a tornado comes sunshine. After a thunderstorm comes sunshine. And you just have to go through that thunderstorm because that sunshine will follow right after. I promise you, man. I promise you. Even if they took out your raincoat and your umbrella, it's okay. Dance in the rain. Dance in the rain. You will dry up when that sun comes out. I'm telling you right now.
All right. Thank you so much for taking time, Mark. I appreciate it very much. And
Thank you, Jim. Have a good day.
I meant to say, my friend Kent Bresser wants to say hi. So hello
Tell him
from
I said
Kent.
hello, Ken. Hey, Ken, how you doing? Hope all is well. Hope to see you in the near future. Kent as well is a really an amazing guy. I've learned a lot from him. I've spoken to him as well. Thank you for tuning in. Tell him I said hi.
I will do that. All right. You have a good night, Mark. And again, I appreciate you taking time.
Thank you.
All right. That's our broadcast for this evening. I wanted to let you know next week, January 31st, Emily Wharton is scheduled to come on the broadcast. Emily is a kidney cancer patient. She's also blind. She's done quite a bit of work with blind people. As you will see, it's the first time we've had anybody with kidney cancer come on and talk to us about their situation. And she has just a fascinating story. I can't wait to share it with you. And again, I will be getting the replay ready from the broadcast. I thank you so much for watching, and I will see everyone again next week. So take care, my friends.